Welcome to Voyage of the Geek for another week. Sounded very silent at our end, but rest assured, I'm pretty sure that our intro music went out to the world. It just didn't come through to us. And we have a very special show tonight, which is probably why everything has gone wrong and broken. And the special occasion is, Dan?
The 50th.
It is the 50th Voyage of the Geek.
50.
So we have had many a voyage. And joining us is the entire crew. Dan Miller, of course, Rik Legato, Tom McGill. And then joining us from the International Space Station, somewhere above the tropical island of Guam, is Tony Oakton. Which, here we are. Oh. Don't tell me we can't hear Tony. Oh, hang on. Speak. Hey, yes, we can hear you now, Tony. Awesome.
It's bounced around the planet several times, that signal.
That's a pretty homely looking space station.
It's
I've got artificial gravity so I can drink my wine.
Yeah, otherwise we would have been in trouble. And you can clearly see that that this is exactly the sort of decor that NASA would put in place. For their finest scientists. So tonight we're having a look at a bit of a retro piece that is, shall we say, somewhere in our youth. We've stumbled across this piece of TV/cinema, mainly TV. And it is, of course, Battlestar Galactica from 1978, and specifically the movie. Now, the movie was... depending on who you ask and at what point in time you ask the question, the movie was released as a cinematic release, full cinematic release in certain countries, Canada and various other countries, prior to the television release. The movie became the first 3 episodes, or what they called a TV miniseries. And...
some solar flare interference.
Sounds like we might be getting some interference as Tony passes over
It's going to
the North Island of New Zealand.
Shadow of the Earth.
I think the Chinese are trying to jam his signal.
Are you there, Tone? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, that sounds good. I think we've lost you a little bit in stereo, but we're no longer receiving that that interference, so that's fine. You can hear us, yes?
Yeah, I didn't
Awesome.
hear any interference.
Modern
Fantastic.
technology at its finest.
Fantastic. So yes, it was a mini-series released on television. It got a cinematic release in a couple of countries, but not the US. And then after it came out on television, it was released. The first 3 episodes, or the mini-series, was released as a cinematic release.
The film is an odd one to watch because when you watch the first 45 minutes are in a closed-off storyline. The film ends after exactly 45 minutes, which is a 1-hour TV show.
Yep.
And then it continues for the second 2/3 of the film is this two-parter.
And not to mention, even if you look at the first 45 minutes, it's produced in a television format with TV commercials in mind, where you've got those TV commercial cliffhangers, and then you come back from the TV commercial, and it's like you can't help but feel like, I think I missed a conversation or something. There's something that you don't get the sense you missed anything important. It's not like people are referring to things that I didn't see, but it's definitely that formula. All right,
and for a while I thought you would miss something because I was reading up about this 3-hour movie, And I was thinking the one I watched was 2 hours and 15.
Yeah.
Where's this 3-hour movie? Where's this version? Is this one cut? But of course, for American TV, a 45-minute episode is an hour long because of the ads.
Yes.
So when they're talking about a 3-hour movie, they're talking about a movie they see from between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m., which takes 3 hours to watch, but only has 2 hours and 15 minutes of content.
44 minutes an hour is television, and times that by 3, and you come out at that 2 hours.
But they're still calling it a 3-hour movie.
Yeah. All right, so let's go around and discuss when we first found this film. Did we all see it in its original run, like in the late 70s, early 80s?
Yeah, I definitely saw it.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure it would have been... I must have seen it on TV.
Yeah, you would have.
But I don't really specifically remember seeing it, but I do remember it, like, really strongly. I had a really strong sort of favourable reaction to it. I thought it was awesome.
What about you, Rick?
Yeah, I saw it on TV. It's funny, until I saw the bit with the dog, I was wondering, have I seen this? Or did I just see the various TV episodes?
Yeah.
But then when I saw the kid with the dog for the first time, I thought, I've seen this.
Yeah, Muffy, the mechanical dog.
Mechanical Daggett.
Which is the chimpanzee in a suit.
Yeah.
That's clever.
Yeah, very clever. Tom?
I watched Battlestar Galactica. I saw episodes, and it's all a blur in my mind of the teenage years. So I remember 3 Cylons sitting, looking left and right, which is what they always do. And I remember Vipers flying and landing and being launched. But I couldn't tell you what was a movie and what was a TV episode and when what was going on. So I watched Battlestar Galactica, but I have no memory of it other than some visual impacts.
Yeah. Tony?
Yeah, I saw it. I remember... I'm not sure that I saw the film the first time through. I think I may have seen it when it was rerun on television. I think I might have missed the first episode for some reason, but I definitely remember seeing it. Yeah.
For me, I remember vividly. I was violently ill. I was a young kid, and I was so excited about seeing it, but then got violently ill and really, really crook. And my family made me up a beanbag right in front of the television, and I remember trying to watch this thing, feeling so sick. I'd eaten something bad or something. I remember I was just really ordinary, and can't remember what it was about, but just remembered that experience. It was a vivid sort of experience in my memory. As it went on to a TV series, that's when it became sort of more ingrained in my thinking and my memory. And I'm the same as Tom. I can't really recall what was a film, what was not a film. In hindsight, looking back at I've got the series sort of box set of this. Most of the episodes are actually 3-parters or 2-parters. They're sort of, I think they were commissioned to do a series of mini movies.
Yeah, I'd seen somewhere it was
made for telly movies. Yeah, there was only 1 or 2 episodes that are single, standalone 1-hour episodes. The rest of them were sort of carryover 2-week cliffhanger type episodes. But big budget television.
How many seasons did they have?
2.
1.
Oh no, 1 season of the original.
Yeah.
That went for
13 episodes or 17 or something.
Yeah.
I think 17.
Yeah. It's hard to know
cancelled.
I can't remember the exact number, but it's because they're 3-parters and 2-parters, and it's hard. The names, there might be 13 storylines.
Yeah, it's 17 evenings of showing.
Yeah.
If you watch them in a 1-hour thing.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And then it was unexplainably cancelled, even though it was loved by hundreds.
Yes.
Just like Firefly.
The reason, as it turns out, is money. It was super expensive.
It was the most expensive TV show at the time.
Yeah. The 3-hour first episode, pilot, that was $14 million. It was so much money for a television that they used it for promotional purposes. Like, it was on the poster. It said $14 million went into making this film. It was a tagline on the actual poster. So to hell with the narrative. It's all about the tagline. But it's steeped in all sorts of very interesting trivia. For starters, John Dykstra was the visual effects supervisor on this film. Now, John Dykstra him and two other guys, invented the Dykstraflex camera system, which is digital motion control camera system, which was developed for Star Wars. And he came on board and was the soup for this. He's also an executive producer of Battlestar Galactica. The Dykstraflex is the very first. They won an Academy Award, a SciTech Award for the Dykstraflex motion control.
Yeah, I'd heard that the guys that worked on Star Wars had worked on Battlestar Galactica as well.
That's Dykstra, and he probably took a couple of his minions with him as well. I got a feeling Lucas didn't like it. Lucas sued.
Maybe that's part of the sour grapes that he was starting to feel as they were poaching his people and his ideas and his tech.
If you ask George Lucas, he'll tell you that he didn't sue, but 20th Century Fox did. Is it 20th century? 21st century? 20th century. They sued the showrunner, Glenn A. Larson, over Battlestar Galactica because it was too close to Star Wars.
It was meant to be too close to Star Wars.
Yeah, almost as if apparently George Lucas owns space, science fiction and space. And the weird thing is that Glenn A. Larson tells the story that he went to the producer of Star Wars, and actually they had a gentleman's agreement that and told them what they were going to do, and said, we won't put lasers coming out our pistols, we won't put the beams, it'll just be a flash of light and all this sort of stuff. And they had an agreement, and they went away and they made the thing, and then out of nowhere they got sued. It went through a 3-year court case or something, and then Battlestar Galactica won the court case, and Lucas went away. But he tells the world that it wasn't his idea, but I'm pretty sure he just got shitty because he thinks he owns space. All right, so let's, as we normally do, we'll go through the film in a narrative format, or using the narrative beats to progress through. And on the way through, we'll talk about the things that sort of stood out to us and anything interesting that pops up along the way. So, Dan, our master of narrative progression.
All right. Okay, so maybe we talk just quickly about some of the characters. Just a couple of quick introductions. Who have we got? We've got our space pilots, who are going to be our kind of heroes. We've got some space bad guys, who are going to be the bad guys, the Cylons.
And who are the Cylons?
Well, we might talk about that. There's a little narrative point later on where they start to discuss who the Cylons are.
Yeah.
We might discuss that when we get there.
Yep.
There's going to be a whole bunch of civilians involved in the story.
Yep.
And a whole bunch of politicians involved in the story.
Yes.
All right. So it all begins with a opening narration, and that's Lorne Greene doing his kind of Captain Kirk kind of / narrator, which is just talking about how humans had colonized the galaxy.
It's
but not from Earth.
But not from Earth. Some other humans, that's right, had colonized, and they put little colonies everywhere.
That opening narrative of some believe that life here began out there. Brothers of man that could have been the forefathers of the Mayans or the Toltecs or the Aztecs.
Egyptians. Or the Atlanteans.
I like that as a really economical, little tiny narrative that you immediately use your mind's eye and you think, well, that could almost work. You know, that's a really smart thing to do, is to go back into our history and draw pathways, you know, to a potential reality there. And I've always found that opening narrative of this particular TV show has been very... for starters, it anchored the fact that the show was starting, right? It was, oh, cool, it's on, you know, because you heard that. And there was this cool little music piece that goes underneath it, and it shows nebula on screen, different types of nebula while the narrative is happening. But also the way it's written, I thought, was very cool.
It also explains while in the episodes, whenever they land on some new planet that they just discover, is humans running around.
It's very handy.
It's very handy for the makeup department. Star Trek always gets teased because to make an alien, they make the few ripples onto the nose or put different eyebrows on, and they're suddenly supposed to be aliens.
Yeah.
Battlestar Galactica doesn't care.
So the theory is either the 12 colonies that make up the Battlestar Galactica universe went out into the and colonized along the way and ultimately got to Earth, or it came back the other way.
Yep.
Well, it also sort of flips everything on its head. So it's not Earth that's being attacked by the aliens, but it's still kind of humans. And then the humans, the aliens, the Earthlings are going to be the sort of saviors. So it flips everything around a little bit. So it's pretty good. All right, so that's a hint of things to come. That's the next story beat is the 12 colonies having a big meeting, and it's all their politicians, and it's about to be a peace process with the Cylons.
And Tony, can you remember any of the colony names?
They're all based on constellation. There's Sagittarius,
the Geminis,
Geminis, the Taurians, and it's quite. That's kind of nice where they tie that in.
It's pretty smart. Once again, it's that link. It's trying to link to history and astrology and that sort of stuff.
Of course, the weird thing is that if you look up into the sky and you look at a constellation,
they wouldn't see that.
No, those stars are not next to each other. They're like long way away from each other.
Which almost lends itself to the pilgrimage went from here to there as opposed from there to here.
Yeah. They came to Earth and then named our star systems after their other colonies, maybe.
Yes.
I don't think they thought it through in that.
Yeah.
No, maybe you can answer. Sorry, maybe you can answer me where they are. Are they in our galaxy or are they not in our galaxy? Because they totally throw these terms of star system and galaxy out the window.
Willy-nilly.
Well,
they just use them in whatever context.
They did reach Earth. The second series was called Galactica 80.
Yeah, but they had to go from one galaxy to the next, right?
Oh, okay, yes. No, I couldn't tell you whether...
They say
they're in the same universe.
I'll give you a couple of little quick facts. The tagline for the movie here on IMDb is, 1 billion light years from Earth, the human race is fighting for survival.
That's definitely another galaxy then.
Well, but then also it says later that none of the writers had any sort of scientific background.
No.
So I think they've just found spacey words and they're just putting them into the script.
There's a show where they're chasing each other and the this is not the movie, so this is from the TV show, and the Viper has no guns, has no ammo, and so he just wants to save the good guy from being chased by the bad guy, and what he does, he just quickly flies in between them and turns on his afterburners and sort of blocks the bad guy's vision for a few seconds. And so the bad guy, oh my god, I'm off control. Oh my god, there's a planet. I'm spiraling down to the planet. And he crashes there and totally loses where the other spaceships went. So this is just no concept of speed or space or distances.
The writers were thinking of a car crash where the buildings
there's a tree.
are like...
there's a planet. Oh my god.
All right, so there's going to be a... they're going to do a sort of a patrol or something or other, and our two heroes, Starbuck and Apollo, are going to go out on patrol. And we don't know that they're our heroes.
Well, it's not Starbuck, is it? They're meant to go out on patrol.
Well, it's meant to be Starbuck and Apollo, and then this other dude turns up who's Zach.
Apollo's little brother. You know who Zach is?
Rick Springfield, who became
famous for
Jesse's Girl.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Serious?
Yeah. Now, I don't know. Was he famous before he sung Jesse's Girl?
Yeah, he was. He was in, I don't know if it was Days of Our Lives or General Hospital. He became
he was a television personality before he was a rock star.
Yeah.
Was he a rock star? I think he probably just did one or two songs, didn't he?
Two that I remember.
Isn't that a bit of a one-hit wonder, those?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did some good stuff.
Yeah. And his album, Working Class Dog.
All right.
Well.
Oh, he had an album.
Right, okay.
Well, that's real.
Pretty good.
All right.
Bruce.
Yeah.
Okay, so Zach wants to go on patrol, and he's the new guy, and he's like the new hero or something or other. Well, we think that he potentially could be the new hero.
He needs to prove himself.
Yeah. He needs to prove himself, and he wants to go and fly in a spaceship
and prove himself to his older brother Apollo.
Yeah.
That he's ready for the big time.
Yep.
So they basically let him come along, and he gives the most enthusiastic yes you've ever heard in your life, and runs off and polishes his spaceship or whatever he does.
Yep.
Then we go to a next, not a story beat, but a very important thing where we see a Viper launch sequence for the first time.
Which at the time was awesome.
It was bloody awesome.
It still stands up. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool piece of television.
Yeah, I mean, I particularly like the techno babble that goes on there, where the girl in the headset who's in the command thing says, passing control to... she says something which sounds quite like technical, like it would actually be what it would actually say.
Yep.
Where she passes control to the ship and then the ship takes off. And there's nice touches which sort of do lend it some authenticity.
Yep.
Which is missing a lot of made-for-television stuff, you know.
It's the sound effect also when it goes down the tunnel that later on that became the same sound effect used for when Michael Knight hit turbo in Kit in because it's the same producer. It's Glenn A. Larson. Later on I'll roll off some of the things that he did for television, and he used the exact same and the red light going back and forward on the front of Kit is exactly the same sound effect as the red light going across on the sidelines. That it's the exact same sound effect.
So Kit is a Cylon.
That's the theory.
Progenitor.
That's the theory. Yeah.
He's an evil car.
Yeah.
The original Cylon.
He's trying to sort of lull us into a false sense of security.
Yep.
Exactly.
Well, there's Kit's evil brother, Car, who is evil. So
I remember Kit's evil brother, Car. That's another show that we have to visit.
All right, so they launched the Vipers, the cool Vipers, and then we go and visit Count Beltar.
Boltar.
Mm-hmm.
A pretty good bad guy.
A pretty good bad guy.
He's a pretty good bad guy.
Yeah.
You loathed him very quickly.
Yep.
And he's the emissary for the Cylons in the peace talks.
Yes.
So, yes, and he's the one who's put together all of the peace talks, pretty much.
That's right.
Yeah, and brought all of the... Yeah.
The Cylons are reaching out. Clearly there's been a war, a large-scale war in the past, and that's why we have these battle stars. That's why it's a military warrior race of humans, because their enemy, their enemy is the Cylons.
They want to finish this so they can go back to space explorations, they say.
That's correct.
So they are scientists, explorers, and the battle stars are their defense.
Mm-hmm. And they say this will be the first peace in 1,000 years.
Yep.
I repeat that a couple of times.
So Beltar and a few other dudes, they're all the politicians, and they're all sort of patting themselves on the back on this awesome peace negotiation that's come together. So Zach and Apollo, meanwhile, are out in patrol. There's some really cool computer graphics. This little computer graphics with this really old school sort of vector text
1978.
font. Yeah, 1978.
Well, I mean, it's old school now, but for then it was cutting edge.
Yeah,
that's what we have to remember.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was really cool. All right, so then they find something suspicious. What do they find? They find a Cylon tanker inside a mist.
That's right.
So a space mist. And... They do a bit of
space mist.
Space mist. They have those.
Did anyone kind of go, there's mist in space?
Fog.
Yeah.
I assume there's gas in space or
That's
something
right.
or other.
Not that dense, but yes.
Okay, so they go for a bit of investigate. They get a bit suspicious, and inside they find lots of Cylon spaceships.
Like we have one here.
An entire fleet, large enough to destroy the entire fleet, I think was the quote. So 1 metric shit ton of Cylons hiding in the cloud.
And they're jamming these guys so that they can't talk or whatever. And then some trouble breaks out. Can you remember who fired the first shot? Because I think Apollo actually opens fire on the Cylons first of all.
They fire... I remember as they came over the top of the tanker, they're already firing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like the Han Solo thing. Who fires first? Apollo fires first. So it's a bit of an interesting thing that they're supposed to be on this peace thing, and we all know in the background that the Cylons are evil people, but Apollo decides on the first sight of Cylons to just start shooting first.
Yeah, he knows what's going on.
Ask questions later.
It's Captain Kirk. We come in peace, shoot to kill.
All right, so a battle ensues, and Zach, his younger brother, he gets himself in a bit of trouble.
He loses his high engine.
That's right,
He
his
has
high
to
engine.
limp his way back to the fleet.
So he gets shot in the butt by a Cylon dude, and they manage to fight off all of the other Cylons, and then They say, let's get the hell out of here. We've got to go warn the fleet. So they head back, but he doesn't have quite enough rocket energy to escape. So Apollo has to leave his brother behind. He zooms off. There's another great graphic there where you see, like on the computer game, the little X's, and one represents Zach and one represents Apollo, and beep, 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 beep. They're moving along, and there's this like giant cloud of
little triangles.
Yeah, little triangles, like some sort of computer game. Okay, then. So what happens next? Adama. We cut back to Adama, and he's learning about the incident on the patrol. So
Adama is one of the 12 colonist leaders, isn't he?
Yep.
Yes, he's like the captain of the ship.
He's from the
Capricorn.
Caprica.
Yep.
That's it.
And he leaves the meeting and goes back to his ship because he smells a trap.
Yeah, he's one of the few that's cling to his suspicions that the Cylons are up to no good, and they will never be peaceful. And he goes back to what do? They put the ship on drills or something.
The Cylons are sort of coming towards them, I think, and they sort of say...
Well, they don't know they're Cylons. They know that their pilots are being attacked, but the president says, well, for all we know, they're pirates.
I think that's actually Baltar.
Well, Baltar's in the ear of the president,
and
isn't
he's
he?
saying maybe we shouldn't attack because they might just be a welcoming committee, I think he uses.
Yeah.
And, Adama says...
Fleet.
Well, can't we send out our own welcoming committee? And no, they're not having a bar of that. So
it's a good narrative tool, isn't it, to have the nemesis, the envoy for the bad guys in the ear of the what's the guy from Lord of the Rings? Wormtongue.
Grima.
Same thing, yeah. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a good mechanism, and the dithering. President as well.
Yeah. So he was easily persuaded. There's another cool scene that comes up later with that. But we're really raising the stakes right now, which is cool. There's this build up. We also know just right at the moment that Zach's dead, and that's Adama's son, and his other son's in trouble. So we're sort of really the story's opening up with lots of reasons for people in the movie to be involved.
Yep.
They put Galactica on alert. So Adama uses we'll just pretend we'll put them on a drill and have everybody ready. Possibly a welcoming committee. Can we send out a welcoming committee of our own? No, we can't. So that's kind of the end of the first thing. Oh no, Zach gets killed.
Yep.
That gets killed. So he gets overtaken by the Cylon
inside
horde.
of the fleet.
That's right. Yes, in sight of the fleet. Yeah.
Yeah. And
so basically, bottom line is the Galactica is the only Battlestar out of all of them that is battle ready.
Yes.
The rest of them get caught with their pants down.
Yeah, they're all chilling.
They don't get any fighters off the deck. So the only fighters out there protecting anyone is, or fighting the good fight, is the Galactica.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the stakes are really high.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at the moment the Galactica is then trying to look for these base ships where the Cylons are coming from,
and can't work out where they are
because they're like short range fighters or something or other, and they don't have a fuel or something or other, and so they try and find the base ships. And they can't find the base ships, and so Adama says, well, they must be somewhere. And so they go and look around their home planets.
And they put two and two together and realise that the attack on the fleet is only a diversion or
it's only a small part of
the battle plan. The major attack is on the planets themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we cut to the surface of the planet, and we start to hear air raid sirens and Cylons.
Well, first we have Jane
Seymour, who's a news
on-the-spot reporter.
She's the on-the-spot
news reporter.
Who's not getting any messages about the peace conference coming through for some reason.
Absolutely.
Yes, we're getting no word.
I have to say that one of your better exports, Tony, from the motherland, is Miss Jane Seymour.
Very pretty.
She's stunning. And she was a big get for this series. It was Lorne Green and Jane Seymour that were the big ticket items.
What had she done before for this?
She'd been in quite a lot of international sort of films, of note. leading up to it. But she was a film actress, and Lorne Greene was a film actor. He was obviously in Bonanza and stuff like that.
And the Pa from Bonanza.
But this was a similar, I think Lorne Greene is this role. I think it's pretty much this guy. But he'd been in a lot of westerns, a lot of films leading up to this point in time. But yeah, she was pretty big. Yeah.
All right, so we got Cylons attacking the fleet. We've got Cylons attacking the home planets. So the stakes are really high. Everything's raised up. Everything's in deep trouble. The Galactica was the only one that was prepared, and thus the only one that could defend itself. And so I think by about this stage, all of the other spaceships in the human fleet, they get blown up. That's it.
They lose the whole fleet.
But we only ever actually see one get blown up. It's interesting because
there's and that's the one that President what's his name's on.
The Atlanta.
Yeah, because there's 12. Battlestar Galactica is 1.
Mm-hmm.
We see the Atlanta go.
Yep.
And the other 10 just go without us actually seeing.
We just hear about it. Yeah.
But they make use of that later in the TV series because one of those battle stars, whilst on fire and explosions, manages to survive as well.
Limps off.
And they bring
the
that
Pegasus.
Back. Yeah, the Pegasus. Very
That's
good.
right.
Excellent memory. Yeah. And so that's a turn up. So I think that's the end of Act 1. That's it. That's the disaster. Everything's blown up. Everybody's dead, Dave.
Although doesn't the Battlestar Galactica start racing for its home planet?
Well, first we see Adama go down to the planet, right? After the battle. He goes down to the planet because he needs to see for his own, for himself, where his wife is. And I think there might be other children as well. And finds a burnt-out wreck of a house and starts sifting through the wreckage and finds photos and things like that. I got a feeling in one of the trivia notes it said Sophia Loren was the wife. The photo of the wife was actually
that again.
Sophia Loren.
Yeah.
But then the villagers, the locals, come out of the hills carrying torches and they want to lynch somebody and then Adama sort of comes into the conversation and reminds everybody that we need to you need to pack up everything you can, get on any ship that can fly. We're out of here. If we're going to survive, we're out of here. And that's where the first introduction to the notion that they're on a wagon train across the stars.
Yeah, and a hodgepodge of ships, all sorts of different types of ships.
220.
220, eh?
Yeah, it's a big fleet.
Okay, so then we hit the middle of the movie, so we're in Act 2, and I think the opening part of Act 2 is where do we go and what do we do? And I think Adama says, there just happens to be, one last colony that nobody ever talks about much for some reason, and we're going to head off there. And that's where he says, in another galaxy, or he says something crazy like...
He says it lies beyond our star system, in a galaxy very much like our own, on a planet called Earth.
Yeah, that just doesn't
and there's
make
a big
any
pause.
sense.
Dramatic pause, and you see it.
And that's the end of the 45 minutes.
Earth.
Yeah.
I think that's the end of the 45 minutes. That's when that episode could be finished.
That's right.
And the star system, by that I think they mean galaxy. Because the star system is all those 12 colonies, and in a couple of TV episodes later, they leave the star system. After they've visited lots of other planets and a lot of other stars, and now they're the furthest humans have ever known to have been. If we go through this nebula, we're in uncharted territory because we're out of our star system.
Yeah. All right, so then we sort of hit a middle period.
Excuse me, Dave. Can you have a look at that screen behind you and make sure everything's all right?
Then we sort of hit a middle period, and we start to talk about. We start to meet the people on the ships and what they're going through. And there's some quite cool parts of the story here where the people start fighting each other and they start accusing each other of doing things.
And they're starving and there's no water.
Yeah.
How long has it been?
Because
Because it reminds me of the episode of South Park where they're locked in the town hall and then they start choosing who they're going to eat. And then someone points out they've only been in there for 45 minutes.
Yeah. Yes, it felt like they hadn't been gone for very long. And we started to see a class situation as well, where the rich had all the food and the rest are shoved in like cattle underneath in the bows of the ship. And the minions are getting ready to uprise. So Apollo takes it upon himself to rout out the noble assholes and take all their food and distribute it amongst the fleet.
Yeah, he gets a bit stroppy with them.
And that's not last time we see Senator Yuri, is it?
Yuri.
Yeah,
Yes.
No. What's his name? His
Sire,
name's
it's
Sire.
Sire Yuri, and I think
Sire Yuri.
Sire is Sir. It's like it's a posthumous sort of title for.
So we start to see this politician dude who's part of the 12 politicians, and we start to now see him more in the.
They're the
in
quorum
thing.
of the 12, which is got something to do with the Mormon faith, because Glenn A. Larson was a Mormon.
Okay.
And it crept into a lot of the episodes.
Well, he's one of the writers, isn't he?
Yeah, he wrote this.
And producer, and was involved in the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So apparently the quorum of the 12 is similar to in the Mormon, because isn't there 12 apostles as well?
Yep.
Yeah. So, which same shit.
There's 12 colonies
renamed and
12.
Yep.
12's awesome.
But I think a lot of the quorum of the 12 died in the battle, and so they re-elected new members.
I think towards the end they're still hanging around. The old President Duck, you know that old guy who's a British actor.
Yeah,
Why do we go into the
guy that looks like he looks like he could die at any moment?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Tell me.
I'll look up his name because.
And the thing is, I wonder about that guy because he's been that age
since he was born.
Absolutely.
If you see him in the 60s, he looks like that.
I think his name is Wilfred Hyde
That's
White.
it, Wilfred Hyde. Because he doesn't matter what decade you see him, he looks the same.
Absolutely. He
totally true.
He springs up in the little known and not many people have seen it, the second series of Buck Rogers.
Yeah.
There's the first series is all about Buck battling, people in our universe, and the second series is going on a ship out into the universe of exploration, and he's the dithering old scientist in that series. And I swear, you watch him like a hawk because you know that at any moment in TV history he's going to drop dead on camera, and you don't want to look away.
I disagree. I'm pretty sure he's a vampire.
Yeah. It's the other.
We had a country and western singer in this country called Smokey Dawson,
Yeah.
and every time I saw him, it was the same. I went and saw him at the Tamworth Music Festival on the off chance that he might drop dead on stage, and I would be in the crowd. He looked the same. He looked like at any moment he's gone. Frail, not much of him, but he's this thin.
Yeah. All right, so Starbuck, just meanwhile, we start to get some character development stuff happening.
Yes.
Starbuck is having a deep and meaningful with Athena, which is another...
A socialator.
No.
Athena's...
You're missing
Adama's daughter is Athena.
That's right. Who's
That's-
she?
She's Adama's daughter.
I know, but actress.
Oh, an actress. She's been around for a while. She was in a lot of television. She was in a lot of Glenn A. Larson television. Because Glenn A. Larson used to hold on to his crew of actors. And when you consider Glenn A. Larson gave you Buck Rogers, Battlestar Galactica, Fall Guy, Magnum P.I., Knight Rider, and the list just keeps going. I think $6 Million Man. The list just keeps going on and on and on and on. And these actors are just sprinkled all through all of that stuff. But yeah, she was around quite a lot in that 80s there, and I think she got married and had kids and went away from television for a while there.
Maren Jensen is the name of the actress.
Athena?
Yeah.
Is that Athena? Yeah.
Yep.
She's a pretty good actress.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought she played a good role in this as well.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
She had a lot of emotion, whereas there wasn't a lot because they're all warriors and
and also for 1978, she has a bit of age. I mean, well, not for now, but for then, they actually had females with a bit of agency, with like proper jobs, positions.
Yeah,
and they were quite
They weren't
responsible.
just one-dimensional. They were
Yeah,
bit of depth. To
which I was actually surprised.
I think she's
Watching
dressed up
it
in the
again.
same uniform as all the other
Yeah, she is.
other fighter pilot guys.
No, she wears the blue. She's
But I've seen her in that
Yeah,
grey
that's the bridge.
thing. Yeah.
No, that's again another
brown.
TV episode. There's a TV episode where all the male
They get
fighters
sick.
are sick, and then all the females get taught how to fly.
okay.
they have
cool.
to go out and
Yeah.
fly. Yeah.
That's the last
I remember
episode that Jane Seymour is on because she didn't want
Yeah.
to stay with the episode, so she gets herself killed off.
She only signed on for the movie.
Right.
And then towards the end of production of the movie, they realised, well, this can be a series, and her contract wasn't about that, so they killed her off in the second episode after the movie. But yeah, she was one of the pilots. She married Apollo in the second episode, and then died towards the end of the second episode, and there was real tears in that scene because everybody was sad that she was leaving.
Yeah.
The actual series.
So Starbuck and Athena, they're having a deep and meaningful, and it's not going very well. And so the point I wanted to make is, how many people on this ship are related to Adama? Most of them, it would seem.
They shouldn't call it Battlestar Galactica. They call it Battlestar Egg Basket, because that's where I have all my eggs, all my family, except my wife that I stupidly left.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
We were going to hire her last week, but we didn't for some reason.
Welcome aboard the Battlestar nepotism.
So Starbuck and Apollo survey
like the White
ships. We've done that one. So the next one is, whilst surveying the ships after having his negative, deep and meaningful with Athena, who is his kind of half girlfriend,
who's hiding half in the locker, and there's also the strategic shot with the bunkers, the bunks.
Yes.
When she takes off her clothes.
Yeah.
Yes. You see her legs.
And
so she's half naked, obviously embarrassed, and he walks, and she's just lost her brother, and he walks in and says, "Hey, let's talk about us. Where are we standing, by the way?" And walks in and has as I said, deep and meaningful talk with her while she's hiding behind the open door.
Yes, half naked. Yes, now is not the time. But luckily for Starbuck, he meets Cassiopeia,
the socialator.
Who is the socialator? So,
which is
in blunt terms, what is a socialator?
Makes men happy in small ways.
An escort.
A geisha.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so he helps her out, and he fixes a broken arm, and he gives her some stuff, and then they start to hit it off a little bit.
Yep.
All right, meanwhile, they've got to come up with, this is what I've called the story beat, called the second plan. So this second plan starts to be developed. And our sire, what's his name again?
Yuri?
Sire Yuri is the instigator or part of it. So there's this meeting of all of the politicians again, and they have to go somewhere. And what is it? Yuri wants to go to the most obvious place where all the food is.
Yes.
And that's the complaint. And Adama says, well, that's too damn obvious. They'll know.
Yeah, they don't want to be found by the Cylons. They have managed to hide themselves.
Yeah.
And Adama wants to go. I don't know where he wants to go, because I don't know that he knows the way to Earth. He just says, we need to go this way.
Yep.
And everybody follows. But they do that, because when Yuri says, oh, we need to just drop all our weapons and shred all our ships, it is assumed that he would get away with it if Adama didn't interfere.
Yep.
We have just been attacked by Cylons. Let's give them another chance. Let's just shred our
it's more
fleet.
But that comes later.
Yeah.
Yes, but
At
I
the
mean,
moment.
we don't, decisions are being made that don't really are questioned. They're not questioned, and we don't really know why.
Like that never happens in the United States.
Never.
Well, he does have that bit where Adama is obviously a bit drunk, and he's talking about giving up his command because he can't do it anymore. He says something like human race is fallen into whatever because they, and he does make this point that the human race is at a low point because it's sort of.
And I think the burden was weighing on him heavily or something or other. And
but he does. I think it's implied that the empire is crumbling.
Well, the entire human race has just lost their home.
Well, before that, he implies that the reason that happened was because
I got that too, Tony. I think Adama makes reference to, you should have seen Sire Yuri in his youth. He was a great scholar, and now he's fat and on the drink all the time, and
that comes up in a little conversation that happens a bit after. So we'll finish this story beat, which is that they don't go to this Borealis place. They want to go to planet Caroline, and because that's not the obvious choice, but it's all blocked for some reason.
With mines?
With mines.
Yeah.
So,
that's right.
So many mines that they're all very close together.
There's a mine field.
Turns out there's 6 of them. But anyway.
There's a minefield inside a nebula that.
Well, there's a sun. Yeah, there's a sun that's super, super bright, and you can't see in there because there's so much light or something or other.
Yep.
And it's filled with mines. And for some reason, that's the only way that you can get.
We never learn why. Or who put the mines there? Or
No, it's the Cylons.
No, the Cylons
it's
put
just
it
a
there.
leftover from the war.
Yeah.
You remember, I think there was some expository dialogue by that old dude.
They don't need to.
I heard, young Apollo, that they put lots of mines in there.
Well, he says they don't need to guard it because they've mined it.
We've put lots of mines.
Yeah, that's it.
And so Apollo says, "Don't worry about it. Now we'll just shoot them all. We'll just shoot all the mines, and everybody can go through, and it'll be fine.
We'll clear a path, and we'll go through there."
Okay, so that basically,
like Tom said, there's no real grasp of how vast space is.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just like going through the Grand Canyon. Or
yeah.
There's no three-dimensional sort of
we need
awareness.
to go through that thing.
Yeah, and I'm a bit baffled as to why you can't go around a minefield.
Yeah,
in space,
exactly.
But anyway. Anyway.
Well, why can't the Death Star go around Yavin? Why does it have to wait 15? Why does it got shoot? Blah, blah.
Why does it shoot Yavin?
Why doesn't it just shoot Yavin? That's right.
Exactly.
The reason why is it has to orbit to get around, and if they shoot it, they have to charge
story.
the batteries again.
It's all to do with the story.
Come on.
Storytelling.
All right. So the next one is a very interesting little scene, little interesting story beat, and that's where Adama and Apollo are in the office, and Apollo gets the shits with Adama and rips strips off him.
Yep.
And this is his own dad, his own boss. Yep. And he says, you're a vacillating, lily-livered do-nothing, because Adama was pissed. And this was interesting, because Adama was pissed off that
Apollo volunteered
his opinion that then Sire Uriel gave the thumbs up to.
Yeah. And
so he kind of got the glory for making the decision.
Yep.
So I thought that was a cool little story beat that even wise old super duper Adama, he's a bit of a...
I think he sums
not
it up.
perfect.
He sums up his position, doesn't he, when he says sometimes it's wise to steer away from the flames after you've been badly burnt.
Yeah.
And that sort of makes sense. That's it. He justifies his being precautious and not being bold, whereas whereas Apollo's all about no, grab it by the throat. That's that warrior mentality.
It's also part of the Adama's arc is that he's still licking his wounds.
Yeah,
and he doesn't sort of take the bull by the horns until later on.
He does, yes,
and he's being too cautious.
All right, so now we get another story beat where that reporter reporting live from Planet Explodey. She has a kid and Apollo, and they save each other, and it's all very friendly, and they're all. But the kid's a little bit sad.
He's not eating.
He saw his dog be crushed by a building.
He's off his rations because he saw his dog get squashed by a lot of concrete.
Yes.
And
he's feeling a little down.
And that's because that's still fresh.
Yes.
That's still a bit raw.
And the best thing when you lose a pet is to give another pet and give it the same name, and there we go. It's all gone. That's all good now.
A bizarre robot pet that has the same name.
Yep.
Yeah. There's going to be therapy later on for that kid.
Yes.
This
will have consequences
That's
later
Noah
on.
Hathaway, who I knew as Atreyu in the Never-Ending Story.
Yes.
And he was a big hit with us teenagers, or especially the teenager girls in our class at the time. Yeah. Well, a few years later. Later, he was a young, strapping, had a little bit of hair on his upper lip already.
And he was one in Never-Ending Story.
Yeah, he was the hero. The hero in the story, not the hero who
I wanted to see him out in the vacuum of space when I watched it this afternoon.
Yeah, I thought he was nice. Well, I thought he was charming. He had charisma.
I think
it was good character.
I don't know if the movie would have been much different if he wasn't in it.
No.
Yeah.
No, but he's in a lot of episodes.
Yeah.
And he also
standard character.
And he also keeps doing dumb shit, which Apollo has to pull him out of, which puts Apollo in the right place.
I think if not for the fact that they had a fully working chimpanzee in a robot suit, right, which people seem to like, we probably would have killed off the kid with the mother in the second episode. But
and a dog.
They were sort of always in the scenes together. But yeah, you're right. If either he wasn't getting into trouble or the the monkey in the robot suit was getting into trouble.
Poor chimpanzee.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was a bit concerned. You know, is the chimpanzee like, get me the fuck out of here? Or is the chimpanzee like, ooh, this is cool?
He seems fine. He sort of waddles around and sits down and shakes his head.
There's only two states. There's a chimpanzee that's quite happy with it, and then there's drugged chimpanzee.
like the tiger in that other movie we reviewed a couple of weeks ago.
You're bringing the ethos and sensibility of the modern age to the 70s. No.
Yes.
You know how many dogs they killed in Milo and Otis?
Yeah, the chimp starts acting up, and they just give him another jab. He's like, "Oh."
And that's serious. Like there's a documentary on YouTube about the amount of dogs that were killed in Milo and Otis, because in that movie the dog fights a bear.
Yeah.
Well, I'm telling you that bear killed at least 50 dogs. Then there's all the dogs that died in the rapids as they went down a river, and man, Disney's got a lot to answer.
I'm traumatized. I'm
traumatized as well. That's horrible.
Yeah. I'm here to tell you that the dog at the end of the film is not the dog at the start of the film.
I need therapy.
Yeah.
So you always notice that little disclaimer at the end of films when they say no animals were harmed, but you don't tend to notice when that disclaimer is missing.
When it's not there.
Right?
Yeah. It's just like...
So this chimpanzee might have been in that suit, sort of looking out through those goggles going, kill me.
Yeah.
They can go to
That's
30 different chimpanzees and you wouldn't notice.
I know they used three chimpanzees.
Oh, did they?
The main one was used a lot, but obviously sometimes they just won't perform, you know.
If you take the testimony of some actors in suits, you know, in Darkstar, you know, he was saying it was freaking awful. The lights were in my face and it was boiling.
Hot suit and just liquid
I couldn't breathe
through a straw. Yeah.
Yes.
Gimli from Lord of the Rings, it almost ended his acting career. He was so over being in a suit every day.
All right, so so the next story beat is they're going to go into that minefield and they're going to do the minefield plan. Mm-hmm. Okay, so first of all, they call it Nova Matagon.
That's right.
Which doesn't mean what it's... To me, that was like, we're going to the Nova Matagon.
Is that a
What
thing?
about the Nova Matagon? I heard we're going to do that.
Is that a real thing, Tom? Is that
Nova is a new exploding... I mean, Nova is an exploding star.
Okay.
Nova is new.
Nova
means
it's
new.
a new.
It's new.
People thought that was a new
Spanish
star
and
being
Latin.
created when they suddenly saw a star where there wasn't one. But what they really saw was a star that is too low magnitude, and you can't see it until it explodes, and then you see it.
Yes, and that only lasts for a little while.
It could last for weeks.
Yes. Anyway, so they're going in there, and they've spray painted the visors on the Vipers so that you can't see, to try and block out the light. So, what actually happens when they're inside there? They're in this red world, and it's all misty, and there's this sort of things, and then there's like these things that look like satellites that are floating around in there, and the people back on the Battlestar Galactica are saying, "Shoot a bit to the left, 3 degrees to the right."
That's right. They
Pull
couldn't
the
look
trigger.
out. They couldn't look out their windows, and they had to shoot by instrument.
And
they shoot by tracer bullets. Every time these things shoot, it's a few meters too far away. They sort of shoot, then they see where the laser is going, and then they correct their aim to hit the target.
Yep.
That's how the whole show works.
Yep.
They have no computers. They just have tracers.
That's the future for you, man. Yeah. Okay, so they start shooting the mines. And what's the danger? What's the danger, Will Robinson? What's the problem?
The pending the immediate danger to the pilots.
Yes. What makes it difficult?
The heat is going to burn through the canopies, or that they can't see out the canopies.
Okay, this is my perspective of what happens in that sequence. It's
and running into a mine.
Well, running into a mine, that's a bit dangerous. But my perspective of what happens in the thing is they go in there and they're in this red blob and they say, shoot to the left. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Oh, I got one. And then the next statement is, God, Starbuck, it's getting hot in here. And then Apollo says, I'm shooting to the left. Blow up one. And Apollo says, you know what? It's really hot. I'm starting to sweat. And then they shoot the last one and they come out the other side and they're like, woohoo, we did it.
Yeah, it didn't seem that dangerous.
No.
Like, I've brushed my teeth when it's been more dangerous.
I've brushed my teeth in summer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like, we live in Australia. It gets 40 degrees here.
They had all of these close-up shots of some little thing melting. But never did anything.
Yeah,
that's
what
right.
was that?
It was his cockpit had a little hole and was
Yeah, there
starting
was
to
like this
melt
little
through.
dribble of like plastic
That's
coming
right.
down the side. If you remember, at the start of the movie, there's a scene where Starbuck's in trouble because he's flying back and they move the ship and he can't find it and he's got his butt shot off, and there's this whole sequence with the people on the ship saying, "Try pressing the red button," and he presses the red button and says, "No, it doesn't work,
That's
God
right,
damn
that's
it.
right.
Try the blue one," and he tries the blue one. It came off in my hand, oh my God. Why couldn't they have done at least something like that in that sequence?
And have the
It
planes
seemed to be
melt.
quite a long, not particularly interesting sequence, I have to say.
Yeah. And it
Could have
didn't.
done a little bit of a sort of second story point halfway through it. Something, to liven it up a little.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Throw a spanner in the works.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Make
Bring
it
some
difficult.
tension up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where they have to think on their feet.
Yep.
Instantaneously.
You know, their lasers jam because of the heat. Something.
Yes,
Lost
exactly.
contact with the Battlestar, they had to sort of do it.
Yep.
By using the Force.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so they arrive at the planet.
They come out the other side.
Yes, come out the other side. Of the
Right
planet.
at the planet.
Yes.
Right there. Like the red stuff dissipates.
Yes, exactly.
And there's the planet.
Like curtains.
Really big in shot.
Okay, so they arrive at this planet. Then we have a quick shot of Baltar talking with the Cylon commanders.
Yes, this was it gets interesting here because he gets brought in.
That's when he gets interrogated or threatened.
He gets brought in with some Cylons bring him in to talk to the Imperious
Centurions.
leader.
Yes.
The Imperious leader, by the way, has got one hell of a galactic afro.
His head looks a little like an
He's
avocado.
Awesome. He's awesome. Yeah. In silhouette, it looks like an
avocado.
afro, but then when the light catches it, you realise it's not hair. And in the movie release, he gets killed. He gets
Beheaded.
Beheaded. Now, in the TV release, they threatened beheading, and the Cylon's about to pull out the knife, and he says, "No, wait, it'll be a public. Take him away. It'll be a public thing." And then later on, as an epilogue after right at the very end of the film, they bring him back and give him a Battlestar.
We're not going to kill you. We're going to put you in command.
Yeah,
Because
it sounds a lot like the public service.
Because it's a different avocado then.
Well, it is too.
It is a
The
different
Supreme
avocado.
Leader gets killed.
That's right.
Yeah.
But we're
Avocado.
spoiling the spoiler.
He gets put on toast.
That's right. And
And
gets
then-
replaced by another
Mashed.
identical. Because as far as I'm aware, the way these things... Well, we talked about it before. The backstory for the Cylons is they were a race.
Well, hang on. Let's save it because we get to the exposition
cool.
bits
Yes,
coming up.
All right, cool.
And just to sort of remind everybody at home that Baltar is the guy who sold out humanity. And,
That's right.
Okay, so he gets his kind of comeuppance.
Because he
Yep.
made a deal that they would save his planet.
That he would rule.
And he would rule them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which,
All right.
which they didn't.
He was like
keep that-
Vichy French.
They didn't keep that deal.
Yes, exactly. He's like that Vichy French. All right, so they go down onto planet Caroline or whatever it's called, Carolon. And there seems to be... They just actually turn up. I think it's we come back from the ad break and then suddenly they're all hanging around on the planet.
Yeah, Homer and Starbuck.
No, they go down and they scout it,
Yeah.
right? They take a couple of little shuttle four-wheel drives,
Yeah.
and they split up.
Yeah, but they're suddenly there.
But they're suddenly there.
Suddenly there's this four-wheel drive driving.
We
After
don't
they
get
were
any
yes.
introduction
Yes.
saying we
Well,
should go down
no.
and check this place
So
out.
we're looking for
What-
petrol.
What you're
Yeah.
missing is
Yes.
the TV
Sounding.
commercial that
Yeah,
went in
that's
between
right.
the two.
Yes.
So planet reveal, right?
Yeah,
go to
yeah.
commercial, come back from a commercial on the planet.
Yes, exactly.
So in TV world, makes perfect sense.
So they've got two trucks decked out with space gribbly bits on the outside.
Absolutely.
They've got tracks on the trucks, so they look really cool and spacey.
Yep.
And they've got a big laser cannon
They're
on
pretty
the
cool.
top. Yes.
Those trucks are pretty cool.
They were awesome.
They reused all of the hardware from this in Buck Rogers.
Yeah.
Later on. So those same trucks
did
appear in Buck Rogers later on.
That's how you do
They
it.
did have good models in this, I have to say. One of the things I
Yeah.
really like about this, the models are good and the set pieces are good.
Yeah.
The miniature stuff was great.
Yeah,
It was a good budget.
Starbucks is there with I was going to say Lady of the Night.
Mhm.
And they actually look right next to the snub-nosed fighter. It's very realistic, you know. Even close up, it looks like a real machine, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of work into this to make it look like a real hangar and real planes and real cars and real things, and that's obviously because they have a big budget and they spend a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
But it does give it that lens of that authenticity, which is missing in a lot of maybe television sci-fi. Which is pieces of cardboard stuck together. With a bit of
Absolutely.
tape,
Yeah, I agree that's one of the best parts of the series. And actually, what's in the film world? What are the miniatures referred to as? Are they referred to as just
miniatures? Yeah. Unless they're the bigatures, which is like room-size miniatures.
Yeah. The Battlestars.
The Battlestars, the model got stolen. It was part of a Universal or whoever the major house was. They had an exhibition, and then when they were packing that exhibition up and then ready to send everything back to where it came from, the Battlestar Galactica got stolen, which was like a 4-foot or 6-foot filming model, and it's never been seen again.
Like the Iron Man.
Somebody out there has possession of one of the.
It's like one of those evil people somewhere in the Netherlands, and he's got one of the stolen Van Goghs.
Yeah.
He's got a Greek vase from
an elephant's head.
An elephant's head.
Battlestar
Galactica. His secret museum underneath his house.
Did you hear the Iron Man suit got stolen as well? Out of
did
storage?
it really?
Yeah. Just recently discovered. The last they saw it was in February, and now in April they just realized it was gone. So somewhere in those 2 months,
wow,
somebody walked out with it.
Iron Man suit, looking at his Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
That's exactly right.
A cigar and a whiskey.
I can imagine some nerds in their basement,
with the Battlestar.
Cool, man. I can imagine like someone like Otto from The Simpsons.
It'll show up one day. It'll show up. It'll be worth an absolute fortune because they only made one of them. Even though there were multiples in the starting sequence, they were still all the same model. And they only made one filming size model. There were smaller ones made for the later. For certain shots, which didn't need as much detail.
And I have a question about that model. Sorry, because it's a big bulky ship, right? Mm-hmm. Lots of people inside, and then it has two things that look like landing gear ski things.
The landing
hangars.
pods.
The hangars, right?
Yeah,
so you have the hangars with your spaceships on the most exposed outer side of your spaceships, where they can easily be shot at. But that's where the Vipers land.
Yes.
So they fly in there and land. Whenever they get launched, the launching sequence shows a triangular tunnel, which they fly out, and then you see some close-up of some blurry bit of wall, and three Vipers fly out. Where's that?
They fly out the side of the landing. So if this is the landing,
perpendicular to
they land in here, but they
the
fly
hangar
out the side.
Oh, it's the side of the hangar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
The other thing about the Battlestar Galactica that I thought was super cool when I was a kid was the anti-aircraft type guns that had on turrets that were shooting everywhere.
They were awesome.
I was like...
They were just like the Star Destroyer
twin turrets.
turrets.
Yeah.
Straight out of Star Wars.
Yeah.
I liked it.
The fleet, the fleet, the ragtag fleet heading across the stars. The producers gave the modelers carte blanche to come up with whatever ships they wanted to. So they all picked their own design and made a ship for the fleet, knowing that they all had to look cobbled together.
It does.
Yeah.
It looks
brilliant.
hot together,
Remember one that looks like it's got 3 Frisbee sights?
Yeah, I remember that one.
They're film canisters. Yeah, they're 35mm film canisters, and someone's just plonked them on and put some legs on it and
gribbly bits.
Yeah. So there's they had a lot of fun making the. It would have been cool to be able to know that you could do whatever you wanted and it was going to end up on telly.
Okay, so there's 2 groups down on the planet searching around for something, and I was never quite too sure exactly what the plan was here. But there's Starbuck and Boomer, and they're in one truck driving around, and then there's Apollo and his girlfriend and their son.
And the monkey.
Yeah.
In another truck. Doing some vitally important on a foreign planet to save the day.
Searching for petrol. They're searching for...
like an odd choice for landing pod.
Yeah.
And may I just ask, how did Apollo go from just sort of meeting her and her like being furious with him on the ruined planet, and now they're a couple?
He took a shining to the sun. They got along well.
Through the sun.
The son had just lost his
Yeah, but
puppy.
He just bought the guy, the kid, a robot monkey
dog.
Yeah, but why?
You got the monkey dog for the kid.
He's just met her, and he's getting her son a robot dog.
He's a pilot.
Look,
he's a dashing hotshot pilot.
I mean, just buy her an expensive cocktail, like for the love of God.
No, he's just trying to do. He's just being efficient. You know, he would take her out on a date, but he's got to go down and search this planet to save the fleet. So he thought he could do both together.
She needs to look after her son for when she dies in a few episodes later.
I mean,
she needs to provide
we
for
can't
him.
dismiss that she's looking after herself, her family as well, shacking up with Apollo. She gets on the big Battlestar.
He's the bloody leader's son.
Instead of the shitty shit
royal
down
family
the back.
to marry into.
That's true. But I mean, I've got to say, Apollo moved bloody quick. Like,
But my point is that I think she's putting out a little bit as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I didn't think of it that way.
Which might explain the haste of
the
relationship.
That's true.
I can imagine Apollo going in front of the Council of 12 or whatever. In front of the Council of 12.
That's why all these war babies were born, because the Americans came over and wow, let's just get this on.
Yeah, you got to get what you can.
That's it.
Yeah,
Got to rebuild the human race.
Yeah,
War to get it started.
War is hell. You end up with James Seymour.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's suffering, that man.
Apollo's got the cartons of cigarettes and the booze.
Yeah.
And they've got rations down the back of the fleet.
Yeah, you
One
see,
thing leads to another. Monkey dog. Child's happy. Away we go.
and I've got the explanation of this in my mind in front of the council. He goes back into the Council of 12. They said, "You did rather well blowing up those mines. That was an excellent plan. What do you think you should do next?" He's like, "I'm going to take my girlfriend in the truck. We're going to go down and look for a mine, and there's going to be a robot dog and a chimp."
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. All right, I guess.
And you can see them all looking at one another. Did you hear that? Pretty sure I heard that. All right, so they're scouting. As far as I'm aware, they're just looking for fuel. Is that right? We're just looking for fuel?
Yes, they're using for the stuff that the planet is made of. The highly flammable stuff
That's right.
The planet is made out of, yes.
Because, of course, a highly flammable planet would survive.
Until
Next to a giant burning star.
That's right.
until Starbuck comes with his pistol. But that's later. That's in 10 minutes.
All right, so while Starbuck's doing his best to look for miney type things, no, not Starbuck, Apollo. Starbuck finds the casino.
Yep.
So it turns out that there's a casino on this planet.
Lots of humans gambling and winning games. They just come out of nowhere. This blonde chick comes out of it. Hey, look, I want all this stuff. I'm gonna go away now, but this is awesome.
This is legal, right?
Everybody plays.
And they're oblivious to the destruction of their race.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's right.
they don't know what's going on. It's just insect people here that invite them over to play and win.
It's just one big rock and roll party.
Yeah.
All right, so whilst Apollo and Selena and their dog and the kid are in the other thing driving around, they have an exposition moment.
Exposition comes in vehicles, like it's packaged in vehicles quite often in film.
Yeah, what else are you going to do?
Yeah. Well, people are driving. You explain the backstory of all sorts of things. The most famous one is Terminator, where they're being hunted and chased, and the big chase music is going on outside the car. Right, and the Terminator's back there somewhere, but inside the car it's complete silence while he lays out the entire backstory of when the Earth, when mankind pushed the button, and blah blah blah.
That's not normal movie formula. Normal movie formula is action, taking turns with the low part of the story, the slow part, which is the exposition and the character development, and then comes an action point. Terminator is different in that regard.
Absolutely,
which is pretty cool.
So inside the vehicle, the kid, Boxy, which is a really weird name for a kid.
And again, he serves a purpose.
He might have
asks a question.
Yes.
Spent a lot of time in
So,
his youth
Mr. Apollo,
in the punishment
where
box.
do all the Cylons come from?
Yep.
And what is Apollo's answer? Because I couldn't really understand much of what he said.
Well, from what I can make of it,
Okay.
is that the Cylons used to be a race of reptilian type creatures.
Yeah, that's what he says.
And they came up with the idea at some point to put their consciousness into machines so that they could live forever.
And so the machines could do all the work.
Yeah. Well, originally they had the machines doing all the work, and then they
That's right.
thought, well, if we put
That's
our
right.
consciousness in the machines, we can live forever. Because if the machine breaks down, we just re-upload our consciousness into another machine. And that's the premise. So that's how we see later on the Supreme Leader gets it, and then gets replaced by an identical Supreme Leader.
They're all robots.
Yeah.
I pretty much think I heard that he said that that was the story until they found the humans, which were the top of the best organism for being alive, and thus they copied the humans and became a human.
No, they modeled the Cylons on the humans, which explains why the Cylons have 2 legs and 2 arms and a head.
Is that what he was talking about?
Because they modeled their robots based on humans because humans are so awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's where the Cylons come from. Then what happens is, as we were saying before, the little kid and the chimp robot dog do their story plot point skill.
They do. What's the one thing you don't do on a strange planet?
Let the kids go out for a run.
Take off a helmet.
Run off.
Walk backwards into a dark room.
Take off the helmet. Yeah.
They don't even have any. They don't even have helmets.
Yes, is there air? Yes.
Do you even know if there's air? So yes, the kid takes off, and then runs around the corner and sees something. Do we get to see what he sees? We just see his reaction.
We can see claws on his.
That's right. And so
the bug people come.
The bug people. Yeah, and they had a name, and I could never remember their names.
Save me.
Can you remember
the fly people?
That's for the fly at the end of the movie. Yeah, that's right.
I forget what they were called.
All right, so the bug people,
Corallons.
The bug people kind of run the joint. They run the planet. They live on the planet, and they do stuff.
They mine.
So they take Apollo and Serena and everybody.
But they also run a casino. They don't know what the connection is.
Nobody knows what the connection is right at the moment. So they take them all down to the bottom of the mine, and they have a cool translator scene with the bugs who have this strange squeaky voice.
With a languatron.
A languatron.
Is that what it says?
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome.
I love it.
Awesome. Generification.
And the guy and the bug say, "So you want your kid back?" And they say, "Yeah, we want our kid back." And he says, "Oh, it's just in the other room. Off you go.
We got your kid right here.
No worries about it. It's all good." All right, that's done. What happens next?
The Ovians.
The Ovians.
The Ovians. That's the bug people are the Ovians.
Ovus is the egg. Is that because in the end they get revealed that these lay eggs into
humans? Yeah, could be.
I should have seen that coming.
Next, there's another quick short scene because Starbuck is gambling and having fun, and there's a couple of scenes where he keeps winning money, and Apollo's a little bit suspicious because everybody keeps winning at the casino.
You can't lose.
You can't lose.
Is Apollo there?
Oh, Boomer.
Boomer's suspicious. Starbuck doesn't give a shit. He just loves winning.
Yeah, and Starbuck wants to hire the
dancing girls.
Yeah, what's
cool.
unique? What's unique about the dancing girls?
They have got so many mouths to feed. That's awesome, and 4 eyes and 2 mouths and chins and everything.
And
everything's double.
They can hold a pitch that blasts all the glassware in the place.
Yeah.
But that was the low voice.
And they're singing low voices and high voices. That's right. They're brilliant. It was good design. I like that.
And the makeup was really cool. They had the eyes could move and blink, so they had 4 eyes. And
they spent money on this thing. $14 million for a TV thing.
Yeah, back then, 1978.
That's some bucks.
So they're building all of that and putting all of that together, and everybody's finding that. And then I think the last story beat that I've got here is called The Lift of Screaming.
Because everybody goes... That's right. Everybody goes down that lift and goes...
That's right.
Yeah. So what's at the bottom of the lift?
Well, we never get
Screaming.
to see it until later in the piece. So the scream is the only thing we know is something is amiss
something
down
is
there.
So some people go into a lift and they want to go back to their room or whatever because they're in the casino and they're having fun, but the lift strangely goes to a place where they haven't been before, down to level
very 4. Hammer House of Horrors.
Yes, really. And we don't know what's happening, but when the doors open, they scream.
What did I call them? The
Ovians.
The Ovians are using humans to nourish their larvae. Young.
They've got a kind of a sort of like a beehive hexagonal
design,
thing where they put people in, and it's all spiderwebby and scary.
And leg and egg in there as well, so a little larva can come out and feed. Little larva with big eyes.
Laying their eggs inside spiders. So wasps do spiders.
Yeah.
So now we kind of hit Act 3. So we're coming in for a landing here. We've built up all of this. We've got all the jigsaw puzzles in place. How our hero is going to react.
Well, Sayuri has come up with the idea that the Cylons aren't chasing us. So what we should do is lay down our arms and
again.
Yeah,
again.
Exactly.
Perfect sense.
Because
just having 12 planets destroyed by them. Yep.
Yeah.
And this
We're
is a
gonna lay
strange
down our
theme,
arms.
this peace theme. It turns up even one more time before we're done with this movie.
Yeah. And they're to celebrate it, to announce it, they're going to award the 3 pilots that saved the fleet by flying through the Nova and blasting their way through to Corellon.
it wasn't really a minefield, was it?
No.
No.
More of a mine alley or
A mine area.
a mine hallway.
A mine collection.
Yeah.
A very small collection.
A small sparse
But
collection
thank God they're gone.
of mines. And so they're going to, the ruse is they're going to award the 3 pilots, and in that ceremony Sayuri is going to announce, and they're all doing it down on the planet.
And they're going to kind of give up this is Sayuri's plan. He wants to give up the weapons,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
One of the things I found a bit weird about that character is that he's kind of not a bad guy.
He's just extremely stupid and naive.
Yeah.
Partially it's but he keeps saying things like, "Let's give peace a chance." You know? Yeah, peace is a good idea.
You should have seen him in his youth.
Should have seen him in his
awesome.
youth.
Yeah.
And so it's a bit of a weird thing to put in the story to make the guy who's trying to do the peaceful thing and he's trying to organise reconciliation and all of that sort of also paint him also as the bad guy at the same time.
My theory is that he's become greedy, right? And he likes to sit in his tower of greed.
And
the problem is when they're a wagon train going through space, he doesn't have minions. He doesn't have anything to be greedy over. In fact, all of his possessions have been shared with the rest of the fleet, sort of thing. Whereas they get to Corellon, and all of a sudden there's all the money, everybody's winning, there's all the food you can eat. It's paradise. They're calling it paradise. Although the sun never shines, and it's an ugly place to live. But at least they have everything.
It's a bit like Lanzarote.
It is. It looks like Lanzarote, doesn't it?
Yeah,
at night, forever.
Like that, yes.
Yeah. And I think he sees that as a way for him to get back to a position of status and
I actually thought maybe he was working with the Cylons or something.
Well,
No, I don't think
Well, look,
so.
this was my next
it's
question.
never confirmed, but there's
just
potential in it.
Why is Baltar
Yeah.
and Uriel 2 people and not 1 people?
Ah, right. Yeah.
Because they've got the evil dark guy that betrays humanity, and then they've got this other guy who turns up in the middle and kind of betrays.
Do our heroes know that Baltar is evil?
No, I don't think so.
At this stage, no. I think they assume he's dead.
Well, then he should be there. Yeah, he should be the one.
This was another one of my questions for you guys. Is do the good guys ever find out that
They do later
Baltar in this movie?
Not in this movie, no.
No, they never know.
Episode 2, he turns up.
So they never know who's the bad guy who betrayed them.
Not in this film, no.
So in this film, Dan is right. Yuri shouldn't be there. It should be Baltar.
Yes. Yeah, he should have stuck around.
Alrighty.
Or we should have seen a secret meeting between the 2.
But I think you're onto something. I've got a feeling Yuri we're struggling to find motivation for why he does what he does.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of secret meetings, Adama, Yuri's people are listening in to what Adama's been up to because he wants to do things, and so we're going to have a secret meeting. So how are we going to organise that? So Adama needs to organise a secret meeting with his offsider, Captain
Colonel Ty.
And so they go down, and I'm building up to the words cone of silence here.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, the world's most expensive cones of silence.
Yeah.
So they go down into the lodge bay, and actually Ty walks in and he's like, "Was I supposed to meet the captain? Where is he?" And it's like the thing opens. And it's hello, and it's like he's inside the spaceship, and he says, "Get in the other spaceship, and we'll talk on the secure channel. We'll come up with a plan."
Yep.
So the plan...
Which is the intercom of the Vipers.
That's what I think it is.
Which they can listen to on the bridge.
Well, no.
Which they use on the bridge all the time, yes.
He makes a point of saying this is a secured line and no one else in the fleet can hear us. No one else can hear us talk on this line.
That's what he says?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they're going to come up with a plan.
Which avoids them both getting in the same cockpit.
Which
would have been awesome. Would have been awesome shot. Would have all squished up.
Surely you would have found a closet on this huge ship.
Yeah.
A crate.
Yeah.
All right. So what's the plan? They're going to come up with a plan. First of all, Adama wants to have all his spaceships ready so he can go because he doesn't want to get tricked again. It's like George Bush. Fool me once, you can't fool me again.
First? The problem is that everybody, all the warriors, the entire fleet, all the pilots and warriors will be down on the planet during the ceremony.
And then they say to each other, when would be the most perfect time to launch an attack?
Why, it would be while everybody's down on the planet.
While we're doing that, yes.
So now they need a plan to combat that issue.
And the plan they do is they will send all their real pilots down to the planet with the Vipers somewhere hidden behind a hill.
Hide in a paddock.
And they're going to dress up engineers and cleaning ladies in pilot uniforms without telling anyone.
That's right.
But they get told they're on a secret mission and they should be down there on the planet behaving as if they were pilots.
Exactly.
And again, this is a bit wobbly story-wise. Is last time they got caught with their pants down during a ceremony. The Cylons tricked them into having a ceremony and they would have their pants down and then they would attack.
That's right.
And now it's a ceremony and they're going to have their pants down and they're going to attack again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Adama sees through that, right?
He does see through it.
Well, he should. It's the second time the writers are using the same thing.
Well, shame on me.
He saw through it the first time.
Fool me twice.
Yes.
You can't fool me again.
Yes. With the last line is, well, it looks like I'm always going to be fooled, but I'm always going to be on top of it and second guess. He ultimately sends Ty into the change rooms, into the locker rooms, to steal uniforms.
To steal people's underwear, yes.
All right.
Okay. Okay, so meanwhile, whilst that's all happening and nobody's told Apollo what's going on for some reason.
People are getting abducted on the planet.
Yeah, people are disappearing.
Apollo would have not gone along with it. He needs to be in the dark.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't understand why. Yeah. Why not have him coordinating stuff?
Especially if you tell Apollo, you'll be in a spaceship just behind a hill.
Rather than risking Apollo being down there with Yuri going, those are not our pilots!
Pew, 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 stop the show!
I think the theory, I think he even says it, I think Adama says, I would have told you, but it was crucial that you three guys were there. You had to be there.
Yeah, you could have ordered them to be there.
Yes, exactly. And told them they were on a secret mission.
Yeah.
All right, so meanwhile, so because they hasn't been told what's going on, they start poking their nose into the business.
Well, they start seeing people wearing uniforms that look terrible.
Well, doesn't Apollo go to his dad first and complain that because Adama is not coming to the ceremony?
Oh, that's right.
Doesn't get to see
your son get his
medal. Get his medal.
That's
yes,
right. and some apologies, and then he says this freaky sentence, which I will remember when I have teenagers, and you all who have children will remember when you have teenage kids. You've been more than a father to me. You've been someone I can look up to with trust and respect. That's what I will.
That's what you're hoping
that's
for. That's what you're expecting.
You're more than a father. You are somebody I can look up with trust and respect.
Yeah, because of father.
I like that. Very good.
All right, so our heroes then get in, I think, the screaming lift.
The lift of screaming.
And they go down into the mines, basically.
Yes. And the lift numbers are Aztec or Mayan or something.
So they go down there and they find out that there's the honeycomb and there's all the people. They shoot the thing.
Apollo has to.
They hotwire the lift for some reason.
Hotwire the lift,
why.
That's right.
Which looks very, like a 1978 car being jacked. Really?
Right?
Yes.
Some wires.
I'm not sure why they had to hotwire the lift to go down to the level where the lift
goes. It doesn't go there.
But I mean, as a rider, you've already set up that the lift automatically just takes people down there.
Not always.
Yeah, no, that's the problem. Is that they can't seem to go to the numbers that are all the way at the bottom.
lift decides when people get put down there.
Well, I, as a rider, would have the lift decide at the right time to send them down there.
I'm pretty sure to hotwire anything, all you do is break it open and grab any wire and touch any other wire.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that starts cars,
and then it detects
lifts,
what you want,
boats.
and it does it. It orders some pizza
Absolutely.
and sends it to you.
That's all you do. Just look for 2 wires.
Well, that worked about an hour ago back there. That's what you did.
I just wiggled something, and here we are. All right.
All right, turns out that the Cylons and the bug people are in cahoots.
Absolutely.
Yep. And they find lots of Cylons down there, and there's a laser fight ensues.
In a very flammable area.
In a highly flammable area.
Obviously not a dangerous laser fight, because I think Buckminster? Buckman? Starbuck? He runs off with his pistol and says, I'm going to set this planet on fire. I just have to shoot it in the right spot. So I guess he needs to find a vein of the thing.
Yeah.
So the Cylons can't shoot willy-nilly.
Tylium.
Tylium.
Well, thank God we know that now.
It's been on the tip of my tongue for an hour. Tylium is what he had to set fire to.
Shoot it once and the whole planet explodes.
That's right.
All right, so we're going to arrive at the climax. There's a big laser fight in the explodey Tylium blow up the planet mine.
There's a big bridge, beautiful matte painting.
Yep.
There's a big bridge,
and
yes.
Nice, very Star Wars-esque shot.
A composite with bug people mining in some corners, and down there they were fighting.
Meanwhile, the Galactica's in orbit, and it's just about to get attacked by more Cylon ships.
That's right. A big wave of ships are heading towards the Galactica.
For the second time.
For the second time. And so the heroes have to fight their way out of the mine.
They fight their way back up the lift, and they burst out into the casino area where Sayuri, the Apollo says, everybody, get out, get to your ships, get back. And Yuri says, no, ignore that, do as I say. And
I'm in charge.
And then the Cylons come out
and shoot him.
Listen to him.
Yeah.
Does he get his comeuppance?
No, I don't think he does.
That's about it. He says, listen to him, he's in charge.
There's like a laser blast hits next to him, and that's it.
Does he come... Is he in more episodes?
I can't remember him being in more episodes.
No, we didn't really get a nice ending for him. We didn't wrap that up. Now, the next thing that happens that I think is bizarre, and maybe you guys can explain it, but all of the fighter pilots get in their Vipers.
Yes.
And they fly back to the Battlestar Galactica where they came from.
Yeah.
No, my question is how the Vipers got to the paddock.
Well,
no,
Adama says he's going to send them down in 1s and 2s so that nobody will ever notice. We'll just dribs and drabs and put them in the paddock.
But as far as I'm aware, the pilots got picked up at the casino and didn't know that
they're not the pilots. Those are the... No.
So only Starbuck and Apollo and Boom are the only ones that aren't in the know.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
Everybody else is a janitor.
I got you.
But I thought the idea...
Isn't it true that all the colonists are actually on this planet, though?
Yes, I think so, yes.
Let's say all the colonists are down, so now they've got to get all these colonists off the planet.
Yep.
I mean,
they don't show that actually ever happened before Starbuck
blew
the place to smithereens.
That's the end of the human race.
Yes.
That's kind of what matters, really. And so...
I think...
So, hang on, maybe Starbuck and Apollo don't fly back to the Battlestar Galactica?
No, they do. Because
do.
the Vipers aren't actually hidden. The pilots are hidden.
Oh, right. They're all just looking awesome down there.
Because the avians are looking for the pilots and the ships to make sure they're all accounted for.
Yeah, they're counting uniform.
So the Vipers are down there all landed. The supposed pilots are down there. What they don't know is that the real pilots are right near the Vipers.
Yep. Okay. So the Battlestar Galactica is being attacked by a load of Cylon spaceships.
Yep. Yes.
And so the Vipers come in and defend the Battlestar Galactica.
Yep.
Yes.
Is Apollo and Starbuck part of that team?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. They defeat all of those Cylons.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Now, super important story point. Now what happens? And it's
Apollo and Starbuck gone down.
No. We're throwing the initiative now over to Adama, Mr. Can't fool me once, don't fool me twice, can't fool me again. What's his order to all of the spaceships flying around his Battlestar Galactica? That'll do. Everybody, come on again. Yeah. We'll have a little.
Bring our boys home.
We'll have a little party.
Yep.
And so he's calling off the thing.
Yeah.
And it's only Starbuck and Apollo who break the rules.
Well, they realise that the Cylons came from somewhere. There must be a base star somewhere, and Apollo assumes that it's behind the planet.
So it's kind of weird that Adama doesn't pick up on this.
Well, no, he does. He does because he says because there's a conversation between him and Colonel Ty.
Yeah.
About something about that, and he says, "No, just bring him home."
Bring him home. Yeah. So he makes a decision not to pursue, and brings them home. Whereas Starbuck and Apollo decide to either ignore that order, or they didn't hear that order, but they took off on their own with their ruse of using call signs from dozens of different
pretending to be
warriors. So
I'm Orange Squadron.
That's right. We're asking to join the battle, and that brings the Battlestar down closer to the planet to protect itself. I don't know why.
Because it's obviously very dangerous.
Could be.
It's trying to hide behind a hill.
Yeah. Well, I think it's trying to hide behind a hill.
Take it down into those bushes.
Into the fiery, on fire, about to explode planet.
Oh, they don't know that.
They don't know that.
The Cylons don't.
No, the Cylons don't. Did Starbuck and...
they know. They set fire to them.
Do they actually know? I know they shot it, but do they know it's going to blow up?
Yeah, because they say at some point, let's get out of here. That Tylium we shot is about to...
I think that all the Cylons on ground level who are fighting them in the mines might have relayed some message. They could have saved them.
By the way...
So, don't land here.
Imperious Master, everything seems to be on fire down here. Okay. So the heroes fly away, and the planet blows up. And it blows up the base ship.
Yes.
Which looks like a yo-yo.
With the avocado inside.
It does look like a yo-yo.
A yo-yo with an avocado inside it. From day one, I always thought, as soon as I saw it, I was like, this was a kid 7 years old.
Yeah.
That's a yo-yo.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're getting very close. Well, we've now arrived at the important point in all of these movies that we arrive at, where we have a choose your own adventure. We can go conclusion, or we can go ending.
Yeah.
And what do we get?
Epilogue.
Well, we do get an epilogue.
Yep.
I think we don't actually get a conclusion.
No.
It's like that's it.
Well, it's a series, right? This is the pilot.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And it's kind of where he introduces the thing that he says at the beginning of every series. You know, humans from every corner of...
So there's a narration thing that comes in.
Yeah.
And that's where he says...
Humans from every corner of the world. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like a ragtag crew.
Trying to survive.
And that becomes the thing for every episode.
It's the last Battlestar Galactica leads a ragtag fugitive fleet on a lonely quest for a shining planet known as Earth.
But we don't get a shot of the heroes coming in and they're all like congratulating each other and slapping them on the back and saying, "Yay, you're awesome! How about you marry me?"
You're right.
And all of that stuff. So that's a bit weird. Mm-hmm. And then there's the epilogue. So what's the epilogue? The epilogue is Count Beltar.
Is he Voltar?
It's
Voltar.
Voltar.
Right.
Yeah.
And he gets a promotion.
Yeah, basically it's a new avocado, and the new avocado says, well, the old avocado was programmed during a time of...
Yeah, this is where it's going to get weird.
Where he says, at a time of war or something.
Yeah.
But I was programmed when we were already supreme masters of the universe, so I can afford to be more forgiving.
And he says, now that the Cylons have achieved omnipotence.
Yeah.
Which means they're like godlike
status. They live
status.
forever. Omnipotence is live forever.
No, that's
or is that immortal?
Omnipotent.
Basically, that they're now like...
They can do anything. Omnipotent.
Well, they killed all the 12 colonies. They achieved their goal.
Is that what he meant? That we won?
Yeah,
I was interpreting it that they've got superpowers somehow.
Is it that they now, like, there's no...
apex predator.
Right, they're the apex predator, I see.
There's no opposition anymore.
And then what do they say? What does the omnipotent avocado then say? You know what we're going to do next?
Yeah, we're going to give you a ship to hunt down the humans, and we're going to give you this Lucifer character who we've never seen before.
That's right.
As your Med D.
And he says they're going to try the peace plan again.
Wait, does he?
Yeah, that's right. He says we'll try make peace. He said we can afford to be generous now because there's only a few of them left. Like, who cares? Basically, there's only.
He just says that to get.
Yes, I think it's a twisting his evil moustache to make peace. But we're back to the peace theme again.
Yeah.
Fool me once, don't fool me twice.
Because the writers,
I think my theory is what happens is they're shooting the film as a film. They're spending $14 million. It took 2 years. That's the other thing that was on the posters. 2 years, $14 million. As a film. Halfway through filming it, someone offered threw heaps of money at Larson or whatever and decided this needs to be a TV series. It needs to be a full-blown series. So they had to get creative with the writing to leave things episodic in nature. Because if you think about it, without the epilogue, the bad guys just blow up and die. The Supreme Leader dies, and then you can infer that, well, maybe the bad guys are useless without the Supreme Leader. So the good guys won.
We better fire this up again.
The good guys won, sort of thing. But in order to have it as a wagon's hoe across space, blah, 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 they needed to leave a mechanism in place. And that was Boltar being their emissary once again.
And Space Satan.
Yes.
So there's sparkly robot at the end. His name is Lucifer.
Lucifer, yes.
And we're out.
It's voiced by the Dr. Smith from Lost in Space.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
Yep.
I must go back and watch that.
Yep.
That would be awesome.
Now, this was in production for 2 years. So obviously, it went into production just after Star Wars. But when this was in production, Star Wars wasn't out yet. So they were both being made almost parallel.
I think when they say 2 years in the making, it was probably an idea.
The idea was
his original
before,
idea was there was some sort of cataclysmic event on Earth, and in the future, and a whole bunch of survivors get in a whole bunch of ships and head out to the brothers in far-flung space. That was the original idea, and that got changed into what this is today. So he may have come up with that idea 2 years before, and then probably...
It's the success of Star Wars that got the thing greenlit. Because everybody was into science fiction.
Yeah, because I was going to say, it looks a lot like Star Wars. Unless they knew what Star Wars were doing, they had to have seen Star Wars to make that.
You often hear that Star Wars sort of revamped the space genre, and I think, Battlestar Galactica... I don't know if it's totally fair to say it's copied. I think it's just that Star Wars opened the floodgate and allowed that to be back in again, in vogue, back in...
I don't think it copied. I think it like Star Wars is closer to fantasy than to science fiction.
Yeah.
And this is very science fiction. It's sort of...
it's a bit of a drama, really.
You know what I mean? It's it's our universe. Earth is in
and
this
it has
universe.
a certain... Well, it tries to have that certain realistic grittiness to it that they really grabbed and made the main focus when they rebooted Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
And that's because I actually met the director for the second Battlestar Galactica.
The new one, the 2004 one.
Yeah. I went to at a supernova. They had a dinner.
Oh, cool.
And what's the president's name in the second one? She was in Dances with Wolves.
Oh,
Mary McConnell.
Yeah, I forget it, but she's a very good actress.
Yeah, because it was Beck's 40th birthday, so I scammed a whole bunch of stuff. So while I was working with Marv Wolfman in Melbourne, Beck got to hang around the green room with people like her and James Masterson.
Cool. Yeah.
Basically 3 days with all these movie people.
It's a great series. Did you get into
I've watched a bit of it. I want to watch it properly
If you watch the opening, the first episode, what about you, Tone? Did you get into the newer Battlestar Galactica at all? Did you watch any episodes of that?
I had around the idea that Starbuck was a woman.
Yeah, it was. They broke a couple of rules there. I think that was the biggest one.
Actually, if you go out and look at Dirk Benedict's online rant, he really got his metaphorical and didn't cope with it well.
Absolutely.
He just lost his shit over Starbuck being played by a woman.
Yeah.
I wish it was good.
Yeah. Actually did I think it was great. But the director was talking about that they wanted to, when we were talking about it, that he wanted to take that more realistic grittiness and bring it up to modern day. And they got inspired by the entrenched journalists in the Gulf War and how things were filmed.
Yeah,
like
it's
on a
very
handicap.
documentary. Even the space scenes,
yeah,
very
and
crash zooms and
Too much,
blurry.
too much crash zoom.
Devocus.
Got annoying.
Yeah, a little bit. They abused it a little bit.
So they took inspiration of the grittiness and realness of the real one, and then brought it up to today's standards. And he said, we wanted to make it like the Entrenched, like you were watching it via a journalist, filming it happening.
It did some really cool things, like the flight of. We often complain about the way spaceships fly, that they fly like planes quite often, like in this Battlestar Galactica. But in that, it's 0G, and they're using thrusters to move sideways and spin on their own, axes, and it's very realistic in that sense. They did a lot of cool things in it. It's brilliant. Like if you watch the opening, the first episode, you get hooked really quite easily, and the characters are very compelling. And the big difference in it is that the Cylons look like humans. They have traditional type of Cylons, robot-looking people. But they also have look-alike humans, and they're humans. The Cylons are among them, and they don't know who they are. And that really changes the dynamic of that show quite a lot. But same premise: they're heading for Earth, trying to find Earth, escaping the Cylons.
I got a few little stats here. IMDb gave it 6.8, 7,000.
That's not a big audience, is it? I think if you jump over to the other, I think what happens is there's two listings in IMDb, one for the movie and one for the series, which is the movie for the first episode. If you look at the series, 7.1 is their score with 11,000 people.
Okay, well that's about the same. It's like 6.8, 7.1, so it's hovering around there.
But almost double the amount of people have voted for this one to the other one.
For those people not viewers at home who get this through iTunes,
Rick hasn't hit his head and clutched his chest, and
I've been trying to do
one
that.
of the Viper models off the table.
I've been trying to do that the whole time. Now that we've finished the main part, thank you.
All right, and Rotten Tomatoes, audience score 61, critic score 35.
Yeah,
that would be. That's kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know. Makes sense.
Yeah.
The people who like it because they saw it in 1978 and they thought the laser beams were cool.
As a kid, I thought Battlestar Galactica was the shiz. Basically, it's how I got by in between Star Wars films.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's got some pretty good rewatchability. It's not. You're reminded that it's an early 80s, late 70s series when you're watching it, but at the same time, the stories get pretty good. They're not too bad. The characters get pretty interesting in a TV sort of way. But yeah, I've got a soft spot for it as a series.
There's some nice design. Sorry, Tony.
So I didn't really enjoy it that much when I was younger. I think it sort of hit me at that slightly awkward age. I was just sort of coming out of childhood, becoming an adult, and it wasn't really cool enough for an adult to be watching it. But I really enjoyed it when I rewatched it last week, actually. I thought it was really good. I thought the writing is good.
Yep.
The models are good. Special effects are okay for the times. A bit of bad matting in it, like there is in most of this film. But it hangs together. The stories, like all these things, it's rubbish. It's full of holes if you pick at it. But, Tom made me and Tom were talking about the new series of Lost in Space, which is on
Netflix, I love it.
At the moment.
I binged the whole thing.
Yeah, but Tom made a point as well. In that, there's some very lazy writing in that as well.
Incredibly.
Space eels who drink all their fuel and stuff.
Yep.
It's just bad writing, and I don't know why they can't.
Yep.
Come up with
the series goes pretty bad. This goes as well. They come to a planet where all the people are in prison and they're named Mr. Rapist and Mrs. Adulterer and so on because they are the descendants of the people who were originally thrown in prison.
Okay.
In Galactica.
Yeah, in Galactica.
That's right.
The series and there's a space cowboy thing where they land on the Wild West world. It's no wonder it didn't last more than a season.
But we don't have a lot of sci-fi series stuff, where every week there's a new thing. If you take Star Trek out of it.
Oh, these days we have lots of stuff.
Especially on Netflix. Up until the premium TV thing.
Yeah.
Hey, I would like to talk about design of the helmets, the Viper pilot
the Egyptian.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look very...
I tried to look anything up because, the premise is that humans came to Earth and settled, and the ancestors of the Egyptians and the ancestors of the Aztecs might have been aliens. And here these pilots are wearing Egyptian hairdo helmet things with little something on the front. It's not snakes. It's a star or something, but it's so incredibly closely modeled. But it's the only thing in this whole series that I recognize as something that is sort of a design that shows that these are humans that are the proto-humans who built civilizations on our planet.
That's kind of true. I don't think they did. I don't think they repeated that anywhere else. It's just the helmets.
The second episode is they find a world. The second episode starts out where Apollo and Starbuck are flying through space, and they enter a void that has no stars. It's a black void, and they go back, and after a bit of drama, they find their way out of it and go back and report it. And Adama remembers an old story told by the original lords of Kolbo about this black void, and on the edge of this black void is the star and the second planet from the star is where they settled, or the blah blah blah. So it's ordained planet. They go through the void. They go to that planet, and it's pyramids. It's Egyptian pyramids. It's actually the same pyramids that we have at Giza, just shot. They're identical.
Okay.
It was funny because Jane Seymour's character lands on the planet with Starbuck, with Apollo. That's the episode where all the pilots are sick.
Oh, yeah, right.
And Jane Seymour's a stand-in pilot, right? And she goes down with Apollo and Adama to try to see if there's anything written on the ancient walls and whatever. But the Egyptian government wouldn't let a female wear pants.
Oh, yeah. I heard
at the pyramids, so she was played by a 14-year-old boy.
With
a wig
from behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's walking through the ruins and everything, and she's this scrawny little skinny.
They're a bit prudish, and they won't let a woman wear pants. Yeah. But they're fine with dressing up a 14-year-old boy as a girl
with a wig. Yeah. Oh, that's nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, they find the pyramids, and then they go into a secret tomb and find the actual writing that says that Earth is real and this is the direction you go in, and that's how they start. They know which way.
And there's a later episode where Starbuck ends up in prison for a while. Maybe it's that one.
It's the one that he's talking about.
And there's some graffiti with a solar system. Yep. And then they're having a discussion about where to find Earth, and they're looking at planets, and they're supposed to be our solar system. And Starbuck corrects them and says where the planets are. And they're like, how do you know? And he said, well, because it was drawn on the wall.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah. All right, gentlemen, let's rate this puppy. Burn, borrow, buy. Tony, lead us off. How would you rate the? Not so much. You can think of it as a series or think of it as a film. The mini series film, cinematic.
Borrow, I think.
Borrow. Yep. Dan.
I don't own it, but for me, it's a buy. Yeah, I like it. Like the story. I think it's good. It's got lots of memories, of course. Yeah, I think I should buy it.
Rick?
Yeah, I'm thinking, now, after watching it this afternoon, I'm thinking about hunting down the series and buying it if I can buy it. Not too expensive.
Yeah, that's probably true.
A cheap buy.
Yeah, a cheap buy.
Well, let me know when you have and when you've watched it, because then I can borrow it from you.
Okay, well, I bought it. I've got it on DVD series. If you
and do you regret buying
need to borrow it, not at all.
Not at all.
It's my go-to. I love to, if I'm wound up but I know I've got to go to sleep, I'll throw 80s television on at night, and I'm out, quite
like
quickly. So I've probably watched Battlestar Galactica about 1 million times.
That's why people watch our podcast.
Probably in traffic. So yeah, I'd buy it. I think it's an important milestone in science fiction. Mm-hmm. So I would buy it. Okay, gentlemen, thank you for your attendance on this, our 50th outing. Dan, anything happening in the world of social media?
You can follow us on Twitter, Voyage of the Geek, where it's all happening. YouTube, where it's also all happening, Voyage of the Geek. Facebook, also called Voyage of the Geek. Twitch,
yep,
which we also called Voyage of the Geek.
Google,
which we're working on at the moment.
Which we also called Voyage of the Geek.
We'll change to Voyage of the Geek.
But send us something, comment, do something. Let us know you're alive.
And tell us what you thought about Battlestar Galactica yourself.
And the Battlestar Galactica swear word.
Frack. Oh, yeah, frack.
Oh, yeah, frack.
Oh, frack, yeah.
You love it.
Frack it.
Yeah, I get fracked.
What the frack? All right. That's it for another week. Goodbye from me.
See yous.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Go
See you
get fracked.
guys. Bye.
And goodbye to the International Space Station.
Yes.
Bye. From
Be
us.
safe.
See you
Be down tomorrow.
How many of you